Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference YouTube channel. I am very excited about this interview today. I am going to be talking with Sandy Cooper and Mary Kay Tiller, who are doing the pre-conference session for the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference 2025. And I also have my dear husband, who is the technical chair for Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, here with us, probably providing some technical support, but also here to chime in as he feels led to. But I want to go ahead and welcome Sandy and Mary Kay, not only to this live stream, but also to our team at Kentucky Christian Writers Conference. But as a member of the family, I want to get to know y'all a little bit. So can you tell us each a little bit about yourselves, where you're hailing from, and maybe what you like to do for fun?
Yeah, so I'm Mary Kay. Thanks so much for having us. We're so excited to be here and getting to share a little bit. I am coming from a little rural East Texas town called Elysian Fields. It's teeny tiny. My husband is from here. I'm from bigger cities, Houston and Austin, but we met in college, and here I am. We have 2 kids and about 30 head of cattle. And for fun, this summer, my kids and I are playing a lot of cards. So we're playing Skip-Bo and War and Slapjack and all those good things. And then I also just really love to read. So if I can just end up on my porch with a Topo Chico, I'm a pretty happy girl.
I think I've lost a finger one time in one of those slapping card games. That's serious business.
Yeah.
Serious. Yeah. What are you reading currently?
Well, I'm kind of on a cozy mystery kick. So I just went to my library and picked up like 3 random cozy mysteries and have been chugging through that. My current one's with Maddie Day. It's really good. Fun little vineyard murder mystery.
Nice. Sounds great. I would love to see a picture of that front porch at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I love reading spaces. Yeah. Yeah. Sandy, how about you?
Yes, well, I'm Sandy Cooper. Thank you again for inviting us here. This is so fun for us. I was born and raised in Northwest Ohio, where I lived until I was about 28 or 29. Had a short 8-year stay. I say short 8 years, which is a really long time, in Florida for a little while. And then my husband moved me against my will to Louisville, Kentucky. He told me it would only be for a little while, and a little while was 16 years. And so we were there. We raised all of our kids there. And then at my begging, we moved back to Jacksonville, Florida in 2020, and that's where we live now. I'm here with my husband of over 31 years now. And we have 3 young adult children, and I have a new son-in-law who I love very much, which it feels like I have 30 head of cattle. So I don't actually have cattle, but I don't know, maybe I do. And for fun, I love the beach, which is why we're here. And I also really love to cook. So yeah, that's what I also love to read, but I mean, I wanted to choose something different than Mary Kay. So I'm going with beach and cooking.
Excellent. Yeah. I am definitely more of a mountains girl, Tennessee, born and raised. Yeah. I like the beach. Okay. But we Greg and I actually used to live just a few blocks from the beach while we were in Florida, and we could not keep the sand out of our house.
Oh yeah. See, I embrace it. Yeah. I'm like when I see sand, I'm like, that means I live by the beach. That's what I'm like, it's fine. I embrace it. Yes.
That's a good point. Well, since we're going to be talking about our writers conference, I would love to hear what each of you spend your time writing when you write.
Yeah, so I'll start if you don't mind. So I started blogging in 2008, and I originally started blogging to Christian men and women, both. Mm-hmm. And I started a blog about discerning the voice of God because it was something that I was really interested in at the time. And I did that for a couple of years. And then in 2012, I wanted to narrow my focus more just to talk to women. I realized, no offense, Greg, I didn't really like talking to men that much. And so I was like, although I will talk to men. I just, if I'm going to teach them, I really prefer to teach women. And so I shifted to women and broadened my scope to, instead of always talking about the voice of God, I started talking more about balance and just, I had 3 little kids. I was adopting my youngest at the time, and I was just trying to keep my head on straight. And I thought, okay, I can really speak to this. And so from 2012 until about 2019, I just blogged. And then in 2019, I did another little shift. Instead of talking to women in general, I started talking to moms specifically, and specifically to moms with kids in the home, and narrowed my readership even more so to just overwhelmed Christian moms with kids still in the home. And now I write a Substack newsletter called Behind the Balance to those moms. And I've been podcasting to those moms since 2019 at a podcast called the Balanced Momcast. And then I am the author of 3 books, and 2 of them are Bible studies. One is called Finding Your Balance. One of them is called Is the Voice in My Head God or Just Me? And then I have a book of essays written specifically to overwhelmed Christian moms with kids still in the home, and that's called Mom, You're Amazing.
Oh, you are absolutely speaking to my heart. Those years when your kids are littles or when your kids are in the home, they are so overwhelming. And I think we struggle as a culture to support moms in that season. Yeah. And so I appreciate your work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I got involved in a mom group that's kind of like moms, but think more faith focused, I guess. And they absolutely saved my life when I went through postpartum depression. Wow. And I think so many moms are unseen in that season. And so I appreciate what you're doing very much. Yeah. What about you, Mary Kay? What are you writing?
Yes. So I also am primarily nonfiction. I got my start writing feature articles for a global nonprofit and then also for a local church's magazine. And I really loved that. Just telling people's stories felt really powerful. And then I shifted into writing devotionals for young moms, very similar to what Sandy and you were talking about. We created 3 gift card sets for brand new moms. So you can see one here in the corner. It's called New Mercies for Moms. My friend Jill, who co-runs the ministry with me, is a graphic artist, and she hand letters the scripture on the front of the card, and on the back we have a devotional that goes with it, because it's hard for moms to get in the word, and we just wanted to put scripture wherever they needed it most. And so that is one side of my ministry. And then of course we have Writing Off Social with Sandy, where I speak to writers. And I just, for the last year, have been really drawn and fascinated by fiction, because as a nonfiction writer, I imagined I just could never do it. I thought it was some magic that I didn't possess. But this year I've decided to play with it. And this summer have been kind of playing around with some very short, almost micro fiction, and having a lot of fun just seeing what I can do with that. And so just playing in a new pond right now.
Yeah, that is so fun. I'm having the opposite situation. I've always primarily been a fiction writer. I write clean Christian historical romance, and I have been dabbling in nonfiction.
I love it.
So another one of those things that, like, I just never really thought that I could do both. But the publishing world is really different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And it really opens up the way. So during my time in postpartum depression, God would give me verses, press them onto my heart, speak them into my heart. And then I journaled about what he was teaching me, what he was showing me, how he was showing up for me and with me. And so I would really like to see that turned into like a devotional of some sort for people that are struggling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for that encouragement as well. I can do it.
Yes, you can. You absolutely can.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned, Mary Kay, you mentioned your podcast, Writing Off Social. And I know that you both work you both work together. That's a great sentence right
Mhm.
there. You work together to produce that podcast. Can you give us a brief overview of what Writing Off Social is all about?
Yes. So, Writing Off Social is for female Christian writers who want to grow and nurture their audience without social media. And we say female, but as we are often reminded in their very kind emails, we have several men who listen very loyally and consistently, and we love them. Greg, we love you. We welcome them. We never want to turn them away. But like Sandy said, we have a love for writers like us, female Christian writers. And so that is who we primarily serve. But we're just wrapping up our 5th season. I think next week will be the last episode of our 5th season. And I think overall, our mission with the podcast is just to remind writers that there are really just like 101 different ways to get in connection with your audience, to grow your platform that has nothing to do with social media, and even provides a much higher return on your investment of time and energy. And so over the last couple of years that we've been running the podcast, we have spoken to fellow writers. We've invited on, we've had publishing experts, other industry experts on. And what really started out as an experiment, us wondering, can you really do this? Can you be a successful writer without social media, is very quickly becoming just a proven fact. Indeed, you can be successful without social media. And so we really love sharing that message and doing that through our podcast.
Yeah.
All right. I was introduced to you ladies and to your podcast at a conference in January, and immediately started listening and became absolutely fascinated. And so I've been slowly pulling back from social media and putting that energy in other places. Not that, and I know that you guys say this, not that social media is necessarily horrible or a bad choice for a writer. It's just sometimes that energy can be spent better in other places. So I really like that.
Yes. Yeah. We have just found that, well, us particularly, and Sandy will probably share more about this, but we just in particular felt social media was life-sucking and draining, and it just kind of drained our time. We wanted to get out. We didn't feel like we could. We find a lot of writers feel that way. And so our message is never to convince someone to leave social media. It's really just to grant permission to those who really want to leave, that you can if you want to. So, yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, y'all are coming to Kentucky Christian Writers Conference and doing the pre-conference session. You're co-teaching on how to grow your author platform without social media. So beyond what you've just shared with us about your mission, can you give us an idea of what this class will look like?
Yes, we would love to. So one of the things in addition to the podcast that we offer at Writing Off Social is we offer a 7-week coaching cohort, and we call it Writing Off Social, the course. It's way more than a course. But what we've decided to do for this pre-conference is take the 7-week material and condense it down into 3 hours. So good luck. But we're going to hit like the best points because, you know, it really is kind of a three-part process. I was going to say production, but that wasn't the word I was looking for. A process. Yeah. So in hour 1, so we broke it into like 3 different hours. So in hour 1, we're calling it assess. And in that session, in that portion of the session, we're going to begin by taking a look at everything that you're already doing. So like your website, maybe you have an email newsletter, if you use social media, any other like growth and sales strategies that you're currently doing or have tried. And we want to assess what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and why. And the reason this is important, and when your takeaway from hour 1 is going to be, what should I keep doing and what should I stop doing? And by letting go of some things, then it's going to make some room for some new alternative pathways, is what we call them. Everything that we do outside of social media, we call alternative pathways. So that will be hour 1. And then hour 2, we call clarify. And here, again, we're laying some foundation, because before you can choose alternative pathways, you have to know you have to know a couple things. One of them is You need to know who you're writing to. Okay, so who's your ideal reader? What is the message that you're trying to say to that ideal reader? This will help you find her or him in real life, which is what we're trying to show you. Like, okay, where else does your reader hang out besides social media so that you can find her? It will also, we're going to help you brainstorm the best ways to reach your reader and to help you create a reader magnet, or, you know, an enticing free resource, as we like to say. And we also want to help you either identify or create or start to brainstorm what maybe your flagship product is going to be. It might be a book, it might be a course, it might be a service, you know, whatever it is that you're writing. Like for Mary Kay, you know, she did the devotional cards. So we help you, okay, who's your reader and how does she consume content? And so we help you brainstorm the ways that you can reach her with the best content that is also life-giving to you as well. And so that's the assess. And then in hour 3, we call explore. And this is the part that everybody always wants to know. So this is where we offer 10 alternative pathways to social media. We'll tell you what they are. We'll tell you how they work. We'll tell you who they work best for. We'll tell you who they absolutely do not work for. And then we end that session with a free quiz where you will take this quiz and then it will reveal to you what your top 3 pathways are. And so it's a really fun way to end the session and you walk away with something solid, like, okay, based on what I enjoy, who my reader is, and what didn't work for me, what I love, what I don't love, I can walk away with, like, what are 3 things that I can, like you said, Sarah, to redirect that energy that you were doing for social media, you can redirect it into something that would be more life-giving to you and give you a better return on your investment for time and energy.
Awesome. Now, if you were to describe your teaching styles, how would you put that?
Yes. So, okay. Well, we've had it described to us as what did he say? He said informational and entertaining. And I would very much like to think
like that.
We were like, that works. Yes, that is our style. Really and truly, we do our best to just share as much of our knowledge as we can with the participants while we're there. And we try to do it in a very conversational and relaxed way. We have fun with each other. We want to have fun with the participants. We try to make it fun for them. So it's just, very informational, casual.
Yeah.
Lots of
and from sitting under your teaching, I would absolutely agree with that. I found y'all to be very informational and engaging and entertaining and all of those things. And I loved how there were things that we participated with, but then there were things that we just sat and soaked in some of the wisdom that you shared with us. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Sandy, you already talked to some of the things that participants can expect to walk away with after attending this pre-conference session. Is there anything y'all would like to add to that?
Well, I think maybe just summarize, because even the sessions that you attended, Sarah, were they were very condensed, and what Mary Kay and I are looking forward to, especially with the pre-conference, is to be able to slow down a little bit and really go a little bit deeper with some of those areas where we just glossed over, like, you need to know who your ideal reader is. Well, we're going to actually, or you need to assess what's working. We want to take some time to actually work through some of that with you. And so when they leave the pre-conference, I'll just summarize by saying they will have determined what's working for them and what's not, which we said. They will have identified who they're trying to reach and what they're trying to say. They will have clarified their, which is technically clarifying their message, but we will also help them identify how they were using social media. And we break that down into 4 different ways that writers tend to use social media, and identifying those is a really key component of finding an alternative strategy. So you'll definitely know that. We won't necessarily promise you that you will have a lead magnet or a reader magnet and a core offering, but we'll at least give you the tools that you can brainstorm that and create it after the conference. So we'll make sure you have everything you need for that. And then we will definitely be giving you 10 alternative pathways. We will give you as much information about those pathways as we possibly can pack into that third hour. And when you take the quiz, you will be on our email list, which then you will receive deeper assessments. Although Mary Kay and I may, we don't know everything that we're going to be able to like maybe give as handouts as well. Mm-hmm. But either way, you'll have some deeper assessments so that if the quiz, kind of just gives you a general idea, the assessments that you receive after the conference will give you a very clear. Those are the ones that really are like, okay, this is what I definitely should be trying first. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they'll walk away with a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. It sounds like it for sure. I am certainly excited about the pre-conference, and I am guessing that you have whet the appetite of anyone that is watching this YouTube video as well. But you're not going to stop at the pre-conference session. You two have offered to also teach a couple of workshops. So we're going to hear more from you during the conference. Yay. So your workshops will be how to leave social media without regret and balanced productivity for writers. So thinking about the workshops, would you say they're more instructional or leaning more interactive or maybe inspirational? How would you classify those workshops?
I would say leaving social media without regret is definitely instructional. We go fairly deep into that topic to help you understand why social media isn't working for you the way that you think it should or that you think it is. And we also want to help you leave without ever having to feel like you have to look back. Like you'll just, once you go through that, you'll understand why you can leave it seriously without regret. It's a really fun and we find to be a very powerful presentation. And so we're very excited to bring that to the conference. Balanced productivity is just as informative, but I would say that it's also inspirational. In it, we kind of break down our own personal goal setting process, and we kind of help participants overcome 4 barriers to productivity that we often run up against as writers. And you'll quickly find, though, that our process is very counter to hustle culture. And I think that's what many people find so life-giving and inspiring about that particular presentation. So again, super excited to bring both of those to this conference.
Yeah, I like that point that you're making about, hustle culture. And I think as writers, we particularly struggle with that because so much of the creative process is introspective and long periods of thoughtfulness and letting the characters talk or letting the idea simmer and let God speak into you about it. So I love that. I am, as you can tell, a very intrigued personally about the balanced productivity for writers. I'm always struggling for better productivity, but maybe I have a little perspective shift that needs to happen there. Can you tell us maybe what inspired that particular talk?
Yeah, well, the talk itself was inspired by Thomas Umstattd Jr. of the Novel Marketing Conference, just because we were coming up against we were on a call with him to discuss the other session when we spoke at his conference. And he had just had his 4th baby. And he was like, can you take another session on productivity? And Mary Kay and I looked at each other and we're like, do you even know us? Like, we were made for this. We've been training for this our whole lives. And so on very short notice, we pulled together that session. But what we found was that session is really just the overflow and the outpouring of how we work, both together and individually. We are, for us, we have settled on some productivity philosophies and mindsets and strategies that are very sustainable and are very peaceful and yet very productive at the same time. And that comes very naturally to us. And we realize that it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. And so what we really try to do in that session is take what comes very naturally to us, break it into very manageable, like I said, philosophies, steps, strategies, and then make it very accessible to those who struggle with it.
It just sounds wonderful. All of it. All of it sounds fantastic.
Thanks.
And so I do want to thank you again for joining me today and for giving of yourselves at the conference and just pouring into other writers and what you do in your podcast and everything else that you write. I really see that mission to really speak to writers and to speak into that space is it comes through. Absolutely comes through.
Thank you.
But the last question I wanted to ask is, what is your favorite thing about writers' conferences, and why should someone who's kind of on the fence sign up for one?
Oh yeah. So, okay. I love writers conferences for so many reasons.
Yeah.
They are one of my favorite things to go to, but I think probably my favorite thing about a writers conference is just hands down the connections that you make while you're there. I am an introvert and I will sleep for 3 days after a writers conference. I will need to recharge. But while I'm there, just being in a room full of other creatives, other writers is so inspiring and so energizing. And I have yet to go to a conference where I have not left with some meaningful connection that has gone on beyond the conference. And so, for anyone who has never been to a writers conference or is on the fence about attending one, the writing life can be very lonely, and attending a writers conference is a really great way to push back against that and to find community.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes. And I would agree with everything that Mary Kay said, especially the part about how being in a room of writers and creators fuels my creativity in a way that writing at home does not. But I would also add that one of my favorite things, and I think we all learned this when COVID shut everything down and we couldn't meet in person, but I realized that while we are at no shortage of information at our fingertips, it's not like I need to go to a writers' conference to learn something that I can't learn at home. But there is something different. One of my favorite things is just to sit in a room with other people and an instructor who's teaching me directly, not everything on the internet, but teaching me a planned, timed session. To me, there is nothing like that. I just love sitting and learning in a live setting with a person who can teach me something in person. I don't even know how to categorize that, but I would say that is definitely, that's the reason I go to writers' conferences. So yeah, I love it.
Wonderful. And this conference in particular, Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, was my first Christian Writers Conference to go to, some 10 years ago. And the reason I've continued to go, and the reason that I've stayed involved with Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, pouring into other writers, is because I sat in that room when we opened for worship, and I looked around and I said, these are my people.
Yes.
These are my people. And so being, like you're saying, with like-minded individuals, not just other writers, which is huge. It's huge to be surrounded by other writers that get these random conversations you have with your characters, or how come this character isn't doing what you want them to do and they're off doing their own thing. So they get it. They're also writers that are striving to be paper missionaries, who are working and pouring themselves into letting God take what they're offering and do something bigger with it. And so we mentioned before the theme for our conference this year is Rise Up. And just this idea that it is time for us to take what God is giving us, what he's doing in us, around us, and through us, and just go out into the world and spread that in any way he calls us to do that, be that a podcast or a devotional book or a story about a character that's overwhelmed and coming through it with their faith and with God working in their lives. So yes, that's my little soapbox. I'll step off of it. But for those of you, for those of you that are tuning in right now, the early bird will be ending at the end of this month. So starting July 1st, we'll go to full price tickets. So please do grab your tickets and make sure that you add on that pre-conference session, so that not only do you get to sit with Sandy and Mary Kay's teaching, but you can have that opportunity to maybe ask some questions along the way.
Mhm.
And I, again, am going to thank you ladies for your time. And thank you, Greg, for your time as well. And we will see you at the conference.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mhm.